Most people think working in a big city will change their lives. But what if I told you it's a trap? If you had the option to earn 40k a year in a big city or 30,000 in a small town, which would you choose? You'd be shocked to know that the 30k will actually leave you with more money each month. Let's look at how much it costs to live in a big city like London. The usual starting salary for a graduate is around 40k. That's about £2,693 a month after tax. With living costs around £2,500, you'll only have £193 saved at the end of each month. But in a small town like Portsmouth, where I grew up, you'll probably start with about 30k a year, which after tax is about £2,093 a month. The cost of living for a single person is £1,500 a month. So with the lower salary, you'd save £593 a month, which is actually more than the higher salary. To put it simply, what you keep matters more than what you make. When I first landed my dream job in London, I thought I made it in life. But the high cost of living quickly ate up my salary, and pretty soon I realized something was wrong. I remember watching a video from an ex-Goldman Sachs trader where he said something that truly shocked me. Most people chase high-paying jobs in big cities without realizing that it's a long and brutal battle before you even start to see any money coming in. He talked about how junior hires from top firms start on just £50,000 a year, which sounds great at first, but when you break down the numbers, not so much. One of the craziest parts was when he said, you will be living month to month. Every month you put your card in the machine, it will say 0 or have a negative in front of it. He didn't stop there, saying,
you can't live on that money in central London. You'll live an awful life.
If you're curious to watch the full thing, the link is in the description below. Take a look at this picture. It shows 10,000 people apply for the same financial analyst job. And for those who make it, only 20% will ever get promoted to the next level up, which is an associate position. So the odds are against you from day one. If you're not all in on a career like this, you're better off with a safer and less competitive job in a not so popular city. If you have big ambitions, you need to compete in a field you stand a chance in. You can't just be hungry. Talent goes a long way too. I remember thinking, if this is what it takes to make it in finance, is it even worth it? And that's when it really hit me. The salary myth is the idea that what you're promised with a job offer may not always match reality. You could take a high paycheck without considering the hidden costs that come with it. When you finish work, you're left with two things. One, some money, and two, how you feel. There's no sustainable life without happiness. Money solves many problems, but not all. I know people who've spent 5 years in banking before exhausting themselves. And what happened next? They had to give up and start all over again with nothing. Think of your career as a video game where you only have one life. And so you should only play games that you have a strong chance of winning. Because if you burn out badly enough, you can't play again. Most people don't realize how much money they're actually losing just by living in a big city. They focus on the high salary, but don't think about the crazy high rent, transport, food, and other expenses that leave you with nothing at the end of the month. Using the visual we looked at earlier, if you've survived around 10 years as a professional trader, you'd earn up to 325k a year, which is almost 9 times the average UK salary of £37,500. Once again though, how many people actually make it that far? If you're happy to struggle from day one, for hopes of a better future, then move to a big city. But if you want stability from your first paycheck, maybe not. Now I'm not saying everyone should ditch the big cities, but there are specific careers where it makes absolute sense to be there because the rewards for the few who make it far enough are insane. High pressure careers like investment banking, corporate law, and consulting are great examples because in a country's capital city do the largest companies in the world have their headquarters. If you want to climb to the top, you need to be close to where the deals happen, where clients want to meet you face to face, and where the competition forces you to perform at the highest levels. A report from Signalfire, a big-time investor, said that 26% of all early-stage fundraising goes to startups in San Francisco. So if you're building a business, you can raise more money in a big city. And as an employee, you have a better chance of joining the next billion-dollar company. I lived in London for over 4 years, first in student housing, then a shared apartment with a friend, and finally my own place. So I was renting, and the first place was about £700 a month. The shared flat was about £1,500 a month, and my own place was £3,000 every month. The crazy thing is, a 50k a year salary after tax leaves you with about £3,000 a month. That would barely cover my rent for a 1-bedroom flat in central London. And remember, you got to pay for bills, food, and all the other costs of living an ordinary person would have. But in my hometown, you could rent a 3-bedroom house with a garden for £1,000, a third of what you'd pay for a 1-bedroom flat in central London. To be honest, there's a ton of social pressure to move to a big city. Everyone tells you it's necessary to be there just to build a network. And while that's true, there are other less costly ways to achieve the same goal. From the age of 17, I was making over 6 figures annually from my bedroom, just from DMing the right people online. It's the same with where you choose to study. And sure, I met a few close friends at university that I'm in touch with even today. But 4 years? In just 4 days, I could get the same network from just a few messages. When you work remotely, you'll realize that location is limitation. Value comes from what you do, not how many hours it takes or where you work. A great thing about remote work is that you can travel and earn money at the same time. Over the last few years, I've been super lucky to see the world. Companies would fly me out to places just to get business done, meeting tons of cool people. Also, if you grew up in a big city and now work a remote job, it'll cost a lot less to be what's called a digital nomad. But anyone who spent weeks on the move will tell you that traveling can be both hectic and exhausting. As much as I love it, eventually traveling takes its toll. After all, the old saying goes, there ain't no place like home. A small city is the perfect middle ground. You can work remotely, travel when you want a change of scenery, and return to a peaceful and affordable base. Also, some people prefer working a traditional 9 to 5, and these jobs don't pay top dollar, but usually offer stability and a decent quality of life. Your income stretches much further. Lower rent, cheaper everyday expenses, and a less crazy work routine means that you can actually save money and enjoy life. Something so rare in a big city, where the culture is so work hard, play hard. So if you work remotely or think the 9 to 5 life is for you, a small city is definitely a good choice. I've seen friends working at huge companies who even with pretty high salaries can barely get by each month. But I also know people without fancy titles who live very well. Don't chase headlines. Instead, think about your bottom line. The only way you will survive is by having assets, not accomplishments. Would you rather earn 100k a year and save only 10k because of insane expenses, or earn 35k a year, save the same 10k, but actually be happy? At the end of the day, what you keep matters more than what you make.